Hello everybody, today's video is going to be a question that often comes up in the Utah Concealed Carry class, and that is, should I shoot the legs or an arm or something like that versus shooting center mass in the chest? When I get asked this question, two things come up in my mind. Number one, is that person asking the question capable of using deadly force to defend their lives or the lives of others? There may be religious reasons that would prevent them from doing so, or maybe they have a moral reason. For example, maybe they fear judgment from their wife or their kids or their family members or friends if it were in the news, something like that. When I was a training officer for the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office, there was a recruit that just got out of the academy, and he wasn't my guy, but he was riding around with his senior training officer, and when the subject of deadly force came up, he told his training officer that he could not deploy deadly force in the performance of his duties. Turns out he had religious reasons for not being able to do so, and for obvious reasons they had to let this guy go. So you need to ask yourself if you're capable of deploying deadly force before you start carrying a gun. That would be your first step. And if you can't answer that question, or if the answer is no, then I would say probably not a good idea to carry a gun, because you're probably going to freeze in the moment and you're going to create a danger for yourself and other people. So that's just something really to think about. There's a really good chance that bad guy is going to size you up and going to take that gun away and use that against you. If you've asked and answered to yourself that first question, and the answer is yes, the second question I would ask is your life really in immediate danger when you're deploying deadly force? It's important to ask yourself this question because using a firearm in self-defense requires that you be in immediate danger in order for you to do so. Absent an immediate threat to your life, you're not going to be found justified in using deadly force. So if it's a situation to where it might be close, and if you're really thinking about it that much, or do you have other means that you can use to protect yourself? Do you have any other weapons on you? Are there other means that you could do to protect yourself, including retreating, even though Utah does not require you to do so? I know that when I was on a man with a gun call, when I was a police officer and the guy opened fire on me, the last thing on my mind was shooting that person in the legs. Why? Because my life was in immediate danger, and shooting in the legs is going to delay that imminent threat to my life. The other question that comes up is, am I legally obligated to render first aid to somebody that I have shot? Police officers, yes, they do have an obligation to render first aid. And in this particular case, after this suspect opened fire on me, he was neutralized with a couple of AR-15s and took several hits to center mass. And while I was putting handcuffs on him, he was able to grab a knife out of a sheath that was on his belt, and he attempted to stab us while we were handcuffing him and administering first aid. So that's the other thing you need to consider, even if you wanted to do first aid, and certainly there would be nothing to prevent you from doing so, but I think it's a very reasonable argument for a private person that's not a law enforcement officer to have reservations and to be scared at trying to render first aid to somebody that they deployed deadly force on for that reason. Let me just give you the cons of shooting somebody in the leg. Number one, it's a smaller target and you may miss. Number two, shooting in the leg or an arm is going to be less effective at neutralizing a deadly threat. Even if you do hit them in the leg, do you really want to take that chance of giving them more time to harm you? Next, it goes against nationally recognized firearm protection training courses such as the National Rifle Association and police training, and those entities train to shoot center mass. So I suppose A prosecutor could create a legal argument that your life really wasn't in immediate danger because you had the forethought to shoot that person in the leg. If you don't believe me, this was a contributing factor to a southern Utah law enforcement officer that shot a woman in the leg that was holding a screwdriver, and he was found not justified and he lost his job. Why? That was one major contributing factor, is that he was having a conversation with his partner whether he should shoot in the leg or somewhere else. And so don't think that a prosecutor wouldn't create a legal argument to do so, for doing that. What are the pros of shooting in the leg? I can only think of one. They might live. Using deadly force is a serious matter. It should always be a tool of last resort, and the decision of where you shoot is nobody's decision but yours. Thanks for watching.